So in this episode, I want to explain why it is that I think that my cheekbones got bigger, why some people disagree, and why I think the answer is more interesting than it might at first appear to be. If someone told me at the age of 47 that 2.5 years later I would be sat here in front of a camera talking to a public audience and discussing whether or not my cheekbones had become broader and more pronounced, then I would have laughed at them. But the thing is, I've been documenting this journey with annual video recordings and photographs, and the more that I look at that media, the harder I find it to dismiss what it is that I think that I'm seeing. And this is your chance to see what you think. So why do cheekbones even matter to me? Well, this didn't start with cheekbones. This started with a general sense of dissatisfaction with my whole facial appearance. For the whole of my adult life, I felt that my face had developed poorly, and I always put that down to the extraction, retraction, orthodontics that I had when I was a child. I felt that that treatment might have contributed to poor aesthetics and also poor function. But really, that's a discussion for another video on another day. The important point is that by my late 40s, I decided that I just wasn't willing to accept things the way that they were. I wanted to explore whether any meaningful change was naturally possible. I wasn't just looking for change in my cheekbones. My broader goal was to develop a face that was less vertically elongated. I wanted it to be more projected forwards, more balanced, and just overall more aesthetically pleasing. I wanted to achieve the counterclockwise rotation of my whole facial complex, the sort of thing that the mewing community talk about. And I wanted to achieve that as a middle-aged adult, not a teenager. So you see, the cheekbones were just part of that bigger picture. So some people, when they see the footage, they say, well, you just lost weight. And that's a reasonable criticism. When I compare the footage of myself at age 47 to the footage at age 48, there's no denying I've lost some facial puffiness. And a leaner face naturally reveals more of the underlying structure. If that's all that happened, then the apparent increase in cheekbone definition could just be an illusion created by weight loss. So let's be clear, I think that that explanation deserves to be taken seriously. But the problem with that explanation is what happened next. Between the age of 47.5 and 48, my weight actually increased. I was doing a lot of heavy physical activity. I was eating well, and I put on weight. I put on muscular mass on my body, and that showed in my face. So my face became fuller rather than leaner. And yet, when I compare footage of myself taken over that period, my cheekbones became more pronounced. They appeared a little bit broader, a little bit more defined. and yet my face got fuller over that period. That's the observation I keep coming back to. If weight loss was the explanation, then I would expect my face to look more defined when I lost weight, and I would expect it to look less defined when I put on weight. Instead, what I think I see is an increase in apparent cheekbone size or definition in both periods. So that doesn't prove anything at all, but it does make the weight loss explanation a bit unconvincing. Could the camera be lying? Another explanation is that photographs can be misleading. And I completely agree. Camera angles matter. Lighting matters. Focal length matters. Facial expression matters. It all matters. Comparing two photographs is quite an unreliable way of making any determination of whether there's been real change or not. Single images can be deceptive, so comparing a pair of images has limited value. That's why I don't place too much weight on any individual photograph. What interests me is the broader record. That's why every year I record a video, and it's a video of me facing the camera and then turning my head, and I can compare that with videos produced in subsequent years. What if my cheekbones are more prominent without actually being any wider at all? That's another possibility worth considering. If the entire midface moves into a more forward position, then cheekbones can become more visually prominent even if they haven't become any wider at all. So did my midface move forward then? Does that partially or completely explain what I have observed, or is that just a red herring? So where do I stand today? What do I actually think? Well, I think my cheekbones got physically bigger. I think that's starting to become visible in the annual video, documentation, and also in the mirror. I think the pattern is difficult to explain entirely with fluctuations in body weight. Could I be wrong? Well, yeah, perhaps. But looking at the footage from age 47 through to age 49, that's where I've landed. I believe my cheekbones are broader, higher, and more projected than they were when I started. And I think that's something that I and others will be scrutinizing very heavily when my next annual observations take place at the age of 50. So what I'll do is I'll have a shave, remove my glasses, plonk myself in front of a camera again, try to replicate the exact angles that were there when I took the video age 49, and then do a direct comparison. The more interesting question, though, isn't did my cheekbones get bigger, but why? Why do I think that happened? What mechanisms could possibly explain it? And why do I think that it might fit into a much broader pattern of facial change that I've been documenting over recent years? So that's where things become much more interesting, but also much more controversial. And that's exactly what I'll discuss in upcoming episodes of Armchair Musings. If you found this interesting, then please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.